Hi everyone, in this video we are going to learn how to work with Excel. Specifically, we are going to look at how to use the pivot table function in Excel. To get us started, I have opened up a hypothetical gradebook here where the students are identified by a number, and there are 3 homeworks, 3 quizzes, 3 exams, and the student's grade for the course is calculated as well as their letter grade. And if you notice, in this hypothetical world, you can imagine that I'm a very kind and generous professor and I dropped the lowest exam score because that's what this hypothetical professor did. And just so that you don't get your hopes up, I do not do that ever. Okay. But you can go through the data if you want, but for the purposes of this video, I want to show you how to use a pivot table. And specifically, I want to show you how to use a pivot table when your data are categorical, meaning I'm interested in this letter grade category. Okay, so there are a couple steps to insert a pivot table. The first one is you need to go to the Insert tab. On the Insert tab, on the very far left-hand side, it says Pivot Table. I want you to click that. When that happens, a new window appears, a pop-up box, a dialog box, if you will. With this dialog box, what you need to do is you need to highlight your data range. So currently, Excel has automatically done that, but I always recommend that you do it yourself. So what I want you to do is click this upwards arrow. Now, it could look like a chart on your screen, or it could look like this arrow on your screen. Either one is fine. Go ahead and click it, and I want you, for yourself, to highlight the table. So you can use the hotkeys or you can click and drag. I'm going to click student because in a pivot table, you need to have labels. Your data has to have labels. So I'm going to ignore this first row here because technically our column labels are in row 2 here. So I'm going to highlight all the way over to letter grade and all the way down. You can also use hotkeys. All right, so once you've got your data table highlighted, you can click that little arrow again, and it should be an arrow here regardless of if you're on a desktop or a laptop. So click it, and then the only other decision you really have to make for inserting a pivot table is you can either insert it into a new worksheet or you can insert it into an existing worksheet. My preference is always to put it in a new worksheet because you can always copy and paste it to a specific location after the fact. So I'm going to leave this as new worksheet and hit OK. In a new worksheet, which is the option we selected, you will have a blank pivot table appear. Now, we are going to form the most basic pivot table we can. And usually professors are interested in understanding the grade distribution for their classes. So we're going to do that. And specifically, we're going to do that when we're working with categorical data. So we're going to focus on letter grade. So the way to build these pivot tables, and this is a basic pivot table. What you need to do is you need to drag your variable into rows, and then you need to drag your variable into values. So these bottom 2 squares down here, that's where you need to drag your variable into. So take letter grade, drag it down to rows, and you'll notice that your pivot table is starting to populate, A, B, C, D, F. Then grab that same letter grade and drag it down to values. What you'll see here is that you have 6 individuals who earned an A in your class, 28 individuals who earned a B, 18 a C, 8 of them earned a D, 4 of them failed the class, which means you have a total of 64 students. So this is the most basic way to insert a pivot table. Now, they're extremely useful, and you can change the way your data are represented. You can make this a more complex pivot table. They are also known as contingency tables. You'll learn about that in another video. But for right now, this is how you insert and build the most basic pivot table when your data are categorical.